What happens when a mother gives everything, and her son still walks away? She was erased, dismissed, replaced. But when he came crawling back, what she did next changed everything. It started on a Wednesday, cold, gray, the kind of day where even the coffee tastes tired. I was standing in the kitchen, barefoot, half listening to the radio, flipping pancakes no one would eat. The syrup bottle was sticky. The clock blinked 7:03 like it was mocking me. And the phone? Silent. Again. I had made his favorite. Banana pancakes, the kind he used to ask for every Saturday when he was 12 and too skinny for his own good. Back when he still smiled like he meant it. Back when I was still Mom, not the ghost he avoids making eye contact with in parking lots. I glanced at the calendar, a red circle around the date. 3 months since I held my grandson. 3 months of silence. Not a call, not a text, not a lousy voicemail that cut out halfway. Just nothing. I didn't forget the promise he made when Kate got pregnant. "You'll be part of everything, Mom. I swear." That's what he said, sitting right here, elbows on the table, nervous grin plastered across his face like he knew I needed to hear it. I should have seen it even then, the way he looked at her after every sentence, waiting for a nod like a student begging for a passing grade. She ran the show. Oh, Kate wasn't the yelling type. She was the surgical kind. Clean, quiet, precise. Always smiling when she told me what I shouldn't do. "We just need space. Let's set some boundaries. We'll call you when we're free." Said with that gentle, professional tone people use to fire you without guilt. I kept telling myself it was just new parent stress. I mean, who wants their mother-in-law hovering when they're up to their elbows in diapers? I tried to be considerate. I stopped dropping by, started calling ahead. Then I stopped calling at all because, well, no one picked up. But I kept baking. Every Sunday, the apple pie went in the oven at noon. It cooled on the counter, untouched. And every week I told myself, maybe next time. I even bought new Tupperware, the good kind, in case they wanted to take leftovers home. They didn't. There's this picture in my living room. Daniel, 5 years old, missing his 2 front teeth, holding a Christmas ornament he made from glitter and cardboard. I remember the way he giggled when he showed it to me, proud like it belonged in a museum. I framed it, hung it next to the thermostat. These days I stare at it more than the thermostat. I wasn't perfect. Who is? I raised him on my own after his father passed. Worked double shifts at the clinic, packed lunches at midnight, fought with teachers, prayed over hospital bills. I didn't do it for a thank you. I did it because that's what you do when you love someone more than yourself. And I did. I still do. Even now, when he treats me like an unwanted guest in his life. The last time I saw them, really saw them, I stood at their doorstep with a handmade baby quilt in my arms. Took me 2 months to sew it. Every square stitched with a different memory. Kate opened the door 2 inches wide, smiled like I was a neighbor selling cookies, and said, "Now's not a good time." She didn't even look at the quilt. I drove home that night with the radio off and the quilt still folded in my lap. Didn't cry. Just sat in the driveway for half an hour, staring at my porch light. When I finally went inside, I poured a glass of iced tea, sat on the couch, and unfolded the quilt. And right then, I realized something I couldn't unrealize. It wasn't about being too busy. It wasn't about space. It was about erasure. And the worst part? I let it happen. What happened next changed everything. You won't want to miss how it unfolded. It started small. That's how these things always start. A skipped call. A text left on read. An excuse wrapped in a smile. It was late summer. Hot, thick air, the kind that sticks to your skin and makes your clothes feel like they've given up. I'd just come back from the grocery store, arms full of things I didn't really need, but told myself were for them. Diapers, organic snacks, a new onesie with little stars. I stood in the kitchen unpacking, humming, even put on some music. Sinatra, the stuff Daniel grew up with. Then my phone buzzed. Finally, a text. 2 lines. Hey Mom, Kate thinks we need to slow down on visits. Just for now. I stood there, holding a can of formula I'd paid $12 for. Just for now? Like I was a subscription they were trying to cancel politely. No call, no explanation, not even a, "How are you?" I stared at that message like it was in a different language. Read it once, then again. I even laughed. You know, that short, sharp laugh you make when your body doesn't know what else to do. I typed back something simple. Safe. Of course. Let me know when you're ready. I never hit send. That night I set the can of formula next to the others in the cupboard. 4 now. Unopened. The shelf looked like a tiny shrine to silence. I told myself they just needed time. New baby, sleepless nights, adjusting to life. I'd been there. I knew the chaos. So I waited. A week passed. Nothing. 2 weeks. I left a voicemail. Cheerful, fake, practiced. Hi, sweetie. Just checking in. No rush. Hope you're both okay. No reply. Then came the dinner. The one that changed the air in my lungs for good. Kate invited me over. A family evening, she said. Her voice was smooth as glass. I even bought a bottle of cider to bring, the kind Daniel used to sneak sips of when he thought I wasn't looking. They didn't hug me when I walked in. The baby was asleep in another room. I asked if I could peek in. Kate smiled, tight. Let's eat first. The food was fine. Chicken, roasted vegetables, everything placed like a picture out of a magazine. No music, just the click of forks and the occasional pass the salt. Then, halfway through, Kate put her utensils down and looked at me the way a doctor might look before delivering test results. I think it's important, she began, that we set healthier boundaries, for all of us. My stomach tightened. I kept chewing, swallowed hard. I'm sorry, I said, trying not to sound defensive. That's the trap, isn't it? The minute you sound defensive, you prove their point. You've been very involved, she continued, her voice soft but firm, like a velvet rope. And we appreciate everything you've done, but Daniel and I need space to parent on our own terms. Daniel didn't look up. He just stared at his plate like it had the answers to all of this. So I nodded. I smiled. I did everything I was supposed to do, said all the polite phrases. I understand. Of course. You do what's best for your family. But inside, something cracked. The goodbye at the door was short. No baby photos. No, "We'll call you soon." Just a breeze on my back as the door clicked shut behind me. And the next day, my house key, the spare they had, showed up in my mailbox in a padded envelope. No note, just the key. That's when it hit me. They weren't pulling away. They were closing the door. And I was on the wrong side. Here it comes, the breaking point. Everything that's been building, it's about to explode. Don't miss how it unfolds next, when the line finally snaps. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat in the kitchen, robe on, slippers dragging under the chair, hands wrapped around a mug of tea that went cold 3 times. I kept reheating it like that was going to fix anything, like somehow warming up the mug would warm up the silence too. The key was still on the table, just lying there, silver, ordinary, smug. It used to open their front door. Now it opened nothing. I stared at it for hours. There's a kind of pain that doesn't announce itself. It doesn't shout. It just settles in. Quiet. Heavy. Like fog that crawls into your bones and sits there until everything starts to ache. That's what that day felt like. But here's the thing. I didn't get angry. Not yet. Anger would have made sense. Instead, I got busy. That's what people like me do. We clean, we sort. We keep our hands moving, because if they stop, the heart starts asking questions you don't want to answer. I cleaned out the spare room, the one I'd been fixing up for overnight visits, painted it a soft yellow, bought a crib even, folded baby blankets into neat stacks. Each drawer I opened felt like I was opening a piece of hope I didn't have anymore. Then I started the album. It was going to be a surprise, something I'd give them when the baby turned 1. A gift, a bridge. It had Daniel's childhood photos, the gap-toothed smile, the Halloween costume he hated, his first science fair ribbon. I even added photos of his father, the ones we almost lost in the flood, the ones Daniel used to keep by his bed. Every page I glued down felt like trying to hold on to something already slipping through my fingers, but I kept going. I told myself this was how I'd remind them of who we were, of who I was. The next Sunday I wrapped it carefully, tied a ribbon around it, wrote a note. For our grandson, when he's old enough to know where he came from. Short, no pressure, just love. I drove across town, parked in front of their house, and rang the bell. I could see movement behind the curtains. Daniel's shadow passed by the window, paused, then disappeared. Kate opened the door, hair in a messy bun, yoga pants, holding a coffee mug that said, "Mom Fuel." She stepped out and pulled the door almost closed behind her, just wide enough for her, not a finger more. I smiled. I held out the album. I made something. Just pictures, that's all. Thought, maybe he'd want to know his family one day. She didn't even reach for it. "That's very thoughtful," she said, slow and polite, like she was choosing her words the way people choose outfits for a funeral. "But we're trying not to confuse him right now. He's still adjusting. It might be best if we just keep things simple for now." Simple. That word again. Always that word. I stood there holding the album like a fool. I should have said something, should have pushed back, but I just nodded, smiled, walked back to my car. It was on my porch the next morning, wrapped in the same ribbon, untouched, not even opened. A sticky note stuck to the cover. "Thank you, but we don't need this right now. No signature." I stared at it for 5 full minutes before picking it up, took it inside, set it on the table, and made myself breakfast like I was fine. Eggs, toast, coffee, sat in the same chair, ate every bite. I didn't cry, I didn't scream. I just sat there, chewing through the taste of being erased. And that's when I knew. This wasn't a phase. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was exile. They weren't pushing me away gently. They were rewriting the script entirely, and I wasn't in it anymore. Everything that was holding together is about to crack, and when it does, no one's walking out clean. What happens next will leave a scar. It was 3 months after the album came back like a returned package, unopened, unneeded, unspoken. I stopped trying. That's not something I say lightly. I'm not a quitter. But there's a difference between persistence and begging to be heard again. So I shifted. I didn't stop loving them. No, that doesn't switch off. But I stopped reaching. No more texts, no more pie on Sundays, no more pretending they'd come around if I just gave it a little more time. Time had run out. What was left now was space, and not the kind that heals, the kind that freezes. I kept busy. Volunteered more at the church pantry, learned how to play solitaire on the computer, even tried a book club, though I mostly sat quiet and listened to women talk about books where things somehow worked out in the end. Then one evening, cloudy, no moon, I heard knocking. Not the kind that says, "I'm here for a visit." No, this was sharp, urgent. I opened the door, and there he was, Daniel, standing like a man with no anchor, holding the baby. My grandson. In both arms like he didn't know what to do with him. He looked hollow, face pale, shirt wrinkled, hair unwashed. I hadn't seen him in nearly half a year. I didn't say anything. I just stepped aside. He walked in without a word, sat down on the old recliner, and placed the baby in his lap. Then he broke, just cracked wide open. "She left," he said. Simple, final. "Kate?" I asked, though I didn't need confirmation. "She said she needed a break, said I wasn't pulling my weight, that I was too much like you." I stood still. That sentence, "too much like you," hung in the air like smoke. "I don't know what to do," he said, eyes wide, voice like sandpaper. "He cries all the time. I haven't slept in 2 days. I tried calling her, but she's not answering. I think she's with her mother." He started pacing, running his hands through his hair. I thought I could handle it. I thought I could be the father he needed. He stopped, looked at me. "I need help." There it was, just like that. No apology, no acknowledgement of the months I spent being boxed out. Just those 3 words like they canceled everything before them. I picked up the baby. He was heavier than I expected. Warm, soft curls, sleepy eyes. He didn't know any of this. Didn't know the walls between us. He just needed to be held. So I did. I took him to the guest room, still yellow, still ready, changed his diaper, found the pacifier I'd kept, just in case. He fell asleep on my chest like it was the most natural thing in the world. When I came back into the living room, Daniel was asleep on the couch, mouth open, arms crossed, just like he used to after football practice when he was 15 and too proud to admit he was exhausted. I stood there a long time, looking at him. And here's the ugly truth. Part of me was angry, not the fiery kind, the deep, quiet, frozen kind, the kind that looks at your own child and wonders, how did we get here? He hadn't come because he missed me. He came because he had nowhere else to go. And I had to decide, was I going to be the person who shut the door the way they shut it on me? Or was I going to open it, again, knowing it might hurt all over? I turned off the lights, sat down next to him, rested my head on the back of the couch, and somewhere in the dark, I whispered, "I'm still here." Even if he didn't deserve it, even if it broke me again. What follows isn't forgiveness. It's something far more complicated and far more honest. You'll want to see how this plays out when the past comes back not with answers, but consequences. Morning came slow. You know the kind. Gray light creeping in like it's testing the room first, unsure if it's welcome. I was already up. Couldn't sleep. Hadn't really since he walked through the door the night before, like a man dragging the last of his pride behind him. I made breakfast. Not a grand feast. Just toast, eggs, coffee. The baby was still out, breathing soft in the guest room like none of this mess touched him, and I hoped it never would. Daniel shuffled into the kitchen barefoot, eyes puffy, t-shirt wrinkled beyond repair. He looked like someone who'd been through a storm and hadn't realized it yet. He sat. No good morning, no thanks for last night. Just silence, broken only by the scrape of a chair against the tile. "I can't do this," he finally muttered, hands cradling the mug like it held more than coffee. "Every time I look at him, I wonder if I'm going to mess him up." I didn't answer right away. I've learned that sometimes silence says more than words. I just watched him, this grown man I raised, now folded in on himself like he was 5 again and scared of the dark. "You want the truth?" I said. He nodded, barely. "You're already messing him up. Not because you're bad, because you don't know how to stay. You left me. You let her build the walls, and you held the hammer." He didn't flinch, just stared into the coffee like it could erase history. "I thought I was doing the right thing," he said, voice low. "By cutting me out?" I snapped, sharper than I meant to. "You made me feel like some charity case, like I was too much, too clingy, too everything." He looked up then, and for a second, just a second, I saw the kid I used to read bedtime stories to, the one who used to ask if I'd still be there in the morning. "I didn't know how to balance it," he said. "Kate didn't like how close we were. She said I had to choose. She made it sound normal, like all couples did that. And you chose her." I didn't raise my voice. Didn't need to. The weight of those 4 words did all the work. He didn't deny it, didn't make excuses, just sat there, crumbling from the inside out. And then he whispered it. "I'm sorry, Mom. I really am. I thought she was right. I didn't want to lose her." There it was, finally. A crack in the stone. But here's the thing. Apologies don't patch everything. Not when the wounds had time to rot. Not when the silence has already rewritten your place in someone's life. I don't need sorry, I said. I need you to grow up, to be the father he needs and the son you should have been. I'm not asking for dinners and hugs and matching shirts at Christmas. I'm asking for decency. He nodded, slow, almost like it hurt. That afternoon he said he had errands, left the baby just for a bit, said he'd be back by dinner. He didn't come back. No call, no message, just gone. The next morning, nothing. By day 3, I knew. He wasn't coming back anytime soon. Maybe not at all. He didn't leave a diaper bag, didn't pack clothes, just vanished like a man who saw the size of his life and decided it didn't fit him anymore. And me? I didn't panic. I didn't scream. I bathed the baby, fed him, rocked him to sleep. Then I cleaned the high chair I'd bought months ago, thinking I'd never need it, set it up in the kitchen, because apparently I needed it now. You've made it through the wreckage, but this story isn't over, because what comes next isn't about loss. It's about what's built from the ashes. You need to see how this ends. Some mornings feel like they carry the weight of every morning before them. This was one of those. I stood in the nursery, guest room turned nursery, watching him sleep, little fists curled like he was already ready to fight the world. My grandson. My boy now, I guess. It's funny how life circles back. You spend decades raising a child, thinking once they're grown, you'll finally exhale. But here I was, 63 years old, heating up bottles again, walking the floor at 2 a.m., whispering lullabies to a child who didn't ask for any of this. And you know what? I wasn't bitter. Not anymore. That left me the day Daniel didn't show up for dinner. Again. And then the next one. And the one after that. A week passed, then 2. I got a letter in the mail. No return address. A check inside. No note. Just a folded piece of paper with 4 words scribbled in the corner. I'm not ready yet. That was it. That's what my son thought fatherhood and responsibility boiled down to. A check and a confession he wasn't man enough to say out loud. I sat with that paper in my hands for a long time, not angry, not even surprised, just tired, like finally realizing you've been walking in circles and there's no one coming to pull you out. So I cashed the check, not out of spite, diapers aren't free, but I also bought something else with it. A cheap camera. I started taking pictures of the baby in his high chair, covered in mashed peas, holding a spoon like it was a sword, laughing in the bathtub, splashing water onto the floor I'd just mopped. I started an album, not for Daniel, not anymore, for him, for the child left behind. One day, when he's old enough, I'll sit him down. I won't talk bad about his parents, that's not my place, but I'll tell him the truth, that he was loved, that he was held, that when things fell apart, someone stayed, not out of duty, out of something deeper, something stronger, and maybe, just maybe, when he's old enough to ask, "Where was my dad?" he won't ask it like a wound, but like a fact he's already made peace with. As for Daniel, he sends money sometimes, never visits, never calls. I don't chase anymore. That door is closed, not locked, but I'm not waiting behind it. I still have the old photo on the wall. Him at 5, holding that glittery ornament. I don't take it down. I don't glare at it either. It's just there. A reminder of what was and what never will be again. The baby wakes up around 6 most mornings, reaches for me before his eyes are even open. And when I pick him up, when he lays his head on my shoulder like it's the only place that makes sense, I know. I didn't lose a son. I found something else, something harder, something real. I found myself, all over again. And this time, no one's walking out. Thank you for watching this story to the end. If it moved you, leave a like. It truly matters. Drop a comment and let us know where you're watching from. We read every single one. And most importantly, share your own story. Even just a few words, even if it hurts. This is a space where you'll be heard. Share this video with someone who needs it. Take care. You're not alone.